part of this video is that I wanted to do the Arkveld fight without, oh my goodness, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, without looking up anything online. So I will add in a video without me talking over it, without commentary, but I figure, you know, if you wanted to get into my mind a bit, well, here you go. On top of the fact that, yeah, I didn't want to look anything up. I didn't want to watch anyone else fight it, although I do have people around me playing the Wilds beta in real life. I'm still the only closest one to myself who plays SnS. So, not that the other people around me can't play other weapons, it's just that I main the SnS, so this is my 4 to 5 hours of pain, because they also watch me do a few runs beforehand, and boy. But otherwise, yeah, no cat, no traps of my own, but whatever happens in nature, happens in nature. And there's some amount of control, like until we get maybe arena quests and wilds, when the game actually comes out in about 3 weeks, sure. But until then, this is the best we've got. So as you see right here, this is already good RNG, because basically not really much can hurt me. I think some of the animations can still hurt you, but for the most part, basically you're not being targeted. And this whole run wasn't even, I think I cart twice against the Arkveld in this run. However, this is the first Arkveld hunt I did where I got it to the death state that you can see on the map. Otherwise, I mean, there's nothing too different. It's not like the fight changes so much, at least here in the beta, but again, if you want to pick my brain, the short version is a lot of perfect guarding into counter slashing. The reason for that is that a lot of these attacks, well, there's some attacks that you can dodge, especially once we get gear, where if you want to work with evade, sure, but otherwise power clashing and whatnot is going to be par for the course, because I'm going to be doing a lot of perfect guards, and if you don't get that, well, you'll see. I'll try to comment when it comes out. Otherwise, a lot of charge chops into charge chops, just literally a triangle into a triangle circle hold. Because you can't really fit anything else unless you're going to take a risk or you're really efficient. Again, I'm not, as you'll see me here when he does the two chain slam. He can follow it up, so you usually just see me playing it safe. A lot of this is me playing it safe, but you will see me. All of the blocks that are not perfect guards should be perfect guards, pretty much. That's the other side of this. So if you're wondering how SnS feels, I think it still feels pretty good. If you know what you're doing with the SnS, you can basically dance with the monster all fight long, unless it flies in the air, but obviously the Arkveld doesn't really fly that much. It flies into the air to do a 10 attack. Otherwise, you're really relying on the fact that, yeah, you have charge chop and you can fit that in whenever you see it. You'll see me doing a lot of lateral combos. You don't need to do that. Charge chop, you can add charge chop in a lot of places where I'm not doing it. So for example, there, if you want to take a risk, you could do it there. If you want to wait until it gets into a vine trap, you can, but usually, I don't know if perfect rush is still better. I tried it out. I feel like some things have changed here and there, but again, I've been mostly focusing on learning the Arkveld fight, just so I can do it solo without any cats. Now, I did do like a few runs without any armor, but as I found out, or confirmed, in case anyone was wondering, if you do a perfect guard, you pretty much don't lose. If you do lose HP, it's near negligible, which is why perfect guarding is so important for SnS, on top of the fact that you get power clashes if you're playing with other people, so that you can get more damage, but hey. Also, you might see me do a mount or two. Usually that's just to hold the monster in an area so it doesn't fly off farther, but you really shouldn't be mounting if you're trying to go for speed most of the time, unless it's somehow in part of the thing. Again, the main point of me suffering for the past 4 or 5 hours was to at least just do the run myself. At a certain point, I was wondering, but again, like I said, RNG is pretty good. Like you saw in the very beginning, attacked by mobs, then vine trap, and I think there's another vine trap and a few other environmental things. But usually, I don't try to trigger environmental traps myself. So as you'll notice, yeah, a lot of these perfect guards. So here, I did a lateral slash combo instead because I don't know if there's gonna be a follow up. If there is a follow up, then you pretty much take damage and die. There, though, pretty much every other attack, like all the bigger attacks that the Arkveld can do, you can perfect guard into a counter slash, and you want to perfect guard into a counter slash because if you block, you're staggered too far to do anything safely, charge chop safely. If you perfect guard into a counter slash, you can charge chop safely before Arkveld even recovers to cue its next move, which is really important. That being said, when it flies into the air and does its half moon arcing attack that falls down to the ground, usually you can play it. You should play it safe. You can take a risk and go for something bigger, maybe a charge shot, but it recovers too fast, especially when it's enraged, to really do anything safely. So you might as well just block the attack, or if you can dodge it, sure. Optimally, you want to block and or dodge into the direction it lands, but again, it recovers into an attack anyway, so that's why you'll see me usually just block it and just position myself. Speaking of positioning myself, the chop combo, basic chop combo, now I use it for maneuverability if I'm playing safe. So you'll see me using it a lot to kind of sidestep or diagonally step into position. Usually in front of Arkveld. Funny enough, for SnS, the safest place for you to be with the Arkveld is like a bit in front of, pretty much right in front of its head, but not too close, but not too far. The reason why you don't want to be too far is when it does its attacks that cause power geysers on the ground effectively. You're forced to either dodge or do perfect guard. And in some cases, you can't even perfect guard, so if you're too far, you're just going to get hit, and, well, at least in the beta, since we don't have our own armor sets, you just take damage and die. If you're too close, you can make it so that you accidentally, when you try to go for a perfect guard, you get hit from behind, and then you die. So, yeah, in front of its face usually is enough for a lot of... if you have the reaction speed, you can react to whatever move comes out. I still wasn't as familiar. Obviously, I'm comfortable enough to treat all the moves properly, but you'll see me kind of just preemptively block just to take it. A lot of those moves will usually be when the Arkveld does a very mobile attack, like when it flies up to down, when it does a charge move. I'll still do counter slash sometimes, just out of habit, because sometimes you'll notice I'm in a position where I do perfect guard into counter slash where I would have hit, and sometimes I don't counter slash and I would have hit, but I didn't do it. But it's just part of the Arkveld fight. Again, the bottom line is that you're hitting a lot of chops into charge chops if you can fit them, especially for heavier attacks. When you do a perfect guard into a charge chop, despite the fact that you may stagger a bit, you can still do a charge chop right afterward. If you don't, like I said earlier, you get deflected. So there, one of the attacks literally, it looks very scary, but you can just literally walk forward and roll once. I roll twice just to be certain, because I don't want to die. Otherwise, things like this happen. And then I have to kind of back off and heal. I do heal quite a lot in this fight anyway. So there, you can definitely put this down in sub 15. I can definitely see sub 15. Sub 10 will depend on the loadout, but again, with my limitations, not that I'm doing anything special, probably will take around 15 minutes, but I think you can do sub 15 with the conditions I'm using here. No traps, no bombs, no cat, solo, so on and so forth. Heck, even no armor, because theoretically speaking, no armor, you're either going to perfect guard everything or you're going to block everything. Without armor, just as a fun fact, if you try to block things, you will take super damage, so you want to perfect guard. If you perfect guard, you pretty much take no damage, if any. So here you see me mounting it. I forgot what the exact reason I mounted it here for. Maybe it was to just keep it exhausted, or it might have been an accident, actually. I know one of these mounts was an accident, so I just have to deal with what you've got. But I'm pretty sure, well, I mean, if you want to play it safe, if I wanted to mount it aside from, so when you see the white circle on the map, it's leaping, I would have wanted to mount it here. I already mounted it, so it has resistance, so, yeah. But that's what I mean. If I'm mounting a monster, usually I'm hunting safely. If I'm going for some kind of faster speed run, or a speed run of some sorts, obviously I would never try to mount it, usually. Unless there's a strat that involves mounting it. But again, one more time, I was just doing these hunts just to practice learning Arkveld and then doing it solo, without cats. That's the main point. So you'll see me using the Ghillie Mantle though, Ghillie Mantle, Stealth Mantle, and right into a Vine Trap, but that's out of my control. That's, I mean, that's par for the course. I allow that for myself. You didn't need to though, but sometimes without the Stealth Mantle you get found in some cases, but you usually shouldn't need it either, so theoretically speaking you don't need to use it. So yeah, that's one of the examples again. You do a counter slash after a perfect guard. It looks like you shouldn't be able to, but you do. The only times you usually wouldn't be able to is if it actually staggers you through perfect guard, but again, that's usually reserved for attacks that are pretty much the monster's ultimate attack, but in those cases, you can usually dodge out of the way into a better position to do better damage than perfect guard counter slash. As far as I know, though, a lot of Arkveld for me was a perfect guard counter slashing. I don't doubt there are ways to dodge more of the Arkveld's moves to get more damage, but yeah, for now I'm happy with what I've got. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this video. But yeah, again, for those attacks, a lot of it's scale attacks that look like tail, but those attacks that you just saw when it swipes at me, you can dodge those, but that's the riskier play. I just usually just sit and block them. If I can go for a just guard, sure, but as you'll see a lot, or if you've already seen a lot of it, I get hit once, I perfect guard the first hit, but then a second hit hits you. If you're close enough or far enough away, you only get hit once, but again, like I said, at least I want it to be usually in front of its face, which puts you in a good range to react to the other 95%. But as you saw there, I think I misjudged where I wanted to block, and I blocked in the wrong direction. A lot of my runs, I tried to block in certain ways, whether 180, 90 degrees, but I think blocking at a 45-degree angle facing Arkveld was the best for me, because if you didn't, as you saw there, I just cart. So it's not so bad because it's a short walk, but even then it's still a loss of a lot of damage to finish the hunt. So already, I think in my mind, I just really wanted to get back. I think I was like, oh, one feint, you can still do it one. I definitely felt you could still do it the one if you were not as optimal. Two feints though gets a little dicey, but I figure usually I played the hunts out. A lot of them though I did quit because if I cart in under 2 minutes in a hunt, I usually just reset. Just for morale's sake. So yeah, again, that move, you just walk forward and roll once. I probably rolled twice or walked forward a long time before rolling once. But then I add in, usually I do a lateral slash combo into Spinning Reaper into a charge chop. You could probably fit something more. I don't know if doing 2 charge chop instead after a chop is better for damage, but we'll see when people do. Again, after this hunt, or after this video, pretty much, I'm going to look at it. So at this point, yeah, that's why I equipped Throwing Knife. I figured I might as well test it out anyway, and I found out in about 2 or 3 hours or so, as long as you have anything, even if it's a dung pod, if you have that while Arkveld grabs you, although theoretically you shouldn't be getting grabbed, if you have anything, it should happen. I don't know if stones work too, but I know throwing knives and dung pods work. Obviously, dung pods you don't want to because Arkveld runs away, but in this case, the throwing knife that you always have works out as well. So at this point, around 10 minutes, I know that I'm at 10 minutes right here, I have good time. If you can get it under 10 minutes, even better, but as you saw, I carded, and 2, I haven't been the most efficient. I'm pretty sure if power clash, so as you've noticed, whenever I hit a power clash, I do a chop into a charge chop. That's just, I know you get guaranteed. I wonder if you can get more off of that, but again, at this point, I was just playing really safe. I am trying to fight the buzzer, though. So again, another perfect guard into counter slash into a charge chop. That's essentially the combo I use for 3 of its bigger attacks, unless it's the big set of ground pounds, then you just roll twice forward. And then after that, it's just a matter of getting the smaller attacks down. Sometimes it was hard for me because I didn't want to just sit there and block. You can't just sit there and block. You want to go for perfect guards pretty much on every attack that you can get a perfect guard in on. That and puts you right in front of Arkveld. Otherwise, bad things happen. As for the knockdowns, I could try Perfect Rush. Again, I didn't try out Perfect Rush enough to know if it does more damage. That's why you just see me do lateral slash combo into Spinning Reaper into Charge Chop. But again, we'll see what's actually optimal. For now, though, this is good enough because, again, you wouldn't be watching the video otherwise. The hunt would not have succeeded otherwise. But I think a lot of my efficiency loss was 1, not perfect guarding, and 2, on top of getting hit and having to heal. Yeah, it's just perfect guarded to charge. If I hit every single perfect guard into counter slash into charge chop, I'm pretty sure this would have been sub 20. Oh, not I said 27. Sub 17 for sure. But if you find out more ways to deal damage and whatnot, I'm sure by now, even by now this video comes out, people have a lot, pretty much every weapon soloed with a sub 15 timer. Probably sub 10 for some weapons, if that were to be my guess. But again, recording this and recording the commentary right now, we'll actually see. Otherwise, like I said, yeah, a lot of high mobility moves that the Arkveld has. You just see me block it sometimes. I do try to go for a perfect guard. Sometimes I go for an option select. Well, before this run, I went for option selects, but I figured just play it safe because 4 to 5 hours in, I was already getting like tired. I just wanted to do the run, so... And I felt confident I could do the run, even though, like I said, this is the first run where it's it actually went into its near-death state. So I had no reason to believe that, but if nothing else, I wanted to find out if I could try to be not as risky as you see me tumble to the floor. Be not as risky and see how close I can get. If I can get to a near-death state playing as safe as I was here, or as safely as I could, then I figure it's possible. If it wasn't, then I would have considered, okay, maybe I need to bring Palico. But I'm usually very stubborn in that regard, in terms of not doing much else. Maybe I'll do one thing here or there, like allowing myself to use traps, but I try my best. So funny thing about it being exhausted, yeah, its moves get slower, so you'd think that it would it'd be easier to perfect guard, but it's still a bit scary because the timing does change overall. So theoretically speaking, though, you should never get it wrong. I tried to mount it there. It doesn't work, obviously, because I think I mounted it twice already. But yeah, one feint, less than 5 minutes remaining, and I'm like, well, shoot. So the cart coming up, though, I feel, well, it was my fault, but I feel like there was no way that, I mean, it literally wilds, literally and figuratively, for the game, but you'll see in a moment. As for being able to fly through camp, again, I'll probably take advice. You gotta keep in mind, though, that I didn't look anything up. That's not really an excuse, but if there is a closer camp, I didn't set it up. Again, I try not to go through too much setup for things. Funny enough, well, I'll talk about it. I'll talk about that in the end of the video. Also, you'll see my stamina drop down. Shouldn't really matter too much, as you saw me doing perfect guards, and even when I fail to guard at times, my stamina doesn't drop too low. It drops kind of low sometimes, but doesn't drop too low. But yeah, as for this next cart coming up, is it here? I feel like it was here. Yeah, it might have been here, but I didn't want to fight it here, but if I didn't try to fight it here, if I dung potted it, like for all we know, it could have flown up to the high nest area. For those who know, who have played the beta before, or the first beta, you know which area I'm talking about, and that's not as great. So I might as well fight it here. Not that too much changes. I think it's because I tried to go for another mount for whatever reason, and then I wasn't prepared to dodge. So I think, yeah, that was a panic dodge there when I should have just went for a guard. And yeah, I would have been able to guard, funny enough, but I wasn't sure how fast I recovered after the slope attack SnS does. I don't remember what it's called at the moment. But thankfully, it's not too far away, too. But that does, yeah, this does make things a little tight. At this point, I was kind of panicking. I didn't know if I wanted to go for another mount because, yeah, with 2 carts, going for a mount probably would have been worse for me. So again, yeah, as you see right there, the first attack it does, it can follow it up with the second, which is why you just see me do a chop combo and slowly approach the Arkveld. Otherwise, you can fit a chop charge chop. I don't know how many times I've done it in this run. I've probably been talking over it without concentrating too much as I try to stop it in its track to burst pod, maybe mount. But yeah, it would be better to chop charge chop if you're confident that it won't do a follow up. But I think, yeah, Arkveld actually, funny enough, doesn't have a lot of follow-up moves, but the ones that it does have follow-ups, or possible follow-ups, it matters. So I don't know what to call it. I guess we'll call it slam. Scale slam. It's definitely a slam of some sort. But when it does a 2-combo slam, I think you can react. But again, I was playing a bit safer on these later runs, and in this run too. So I just went for a chop combo. That way, if I do a chop combo and it does it does a second slam, then I can react. And then when it's enraged, obviously, I think if you just guard 1, you're fine. But usually you should just, because a lot of my deaths came from trying to perfect guard into a chop, and then I forget it's enraged or something, and it does a second slam. Or when it does a slam and it's enraged, it does it follows it up with a second set of scales. So I oftentimes forgot about that, and that's how I carded in the previous runs. Otherwise, yeah, again, still doing that. Obviously, you can dodge towards the center, but every time I tried to dodge towards the center as SnS, I didn't even want to do a slide chop because you don't have invulnerability there. And if you do, it's not enough. If I could dodge out of it, there's no reason for me to believe that I could slide chop out of it, or slide slash out of it, or I forgot what it's called, but you get what I mean. So I just would go for a perfect guard instead. Failing that, just a regular guard, because it's not like I lose all of my stamina anyway, and I finally slay the Arkveld. Without even a fall. Yes, I know, there are falling grounding rocks, but as I said before, try not to use traps as my chair squeaks under me. Boy, this is going to be a commentary video. 24 seconds left, and you see me kind of looking at the time as I was fighting Arkveld. I really shouldn't have done that, but hey, it's fine. I did the quest. So yeah, mission, or the main objective accomplished. I also fought the not Kuluyaku running around just because, as you'll see in a moment, I ran out of an ingredient that I wanted to usually eat. I think it's the dodge window one. So all I literally ate was the meat that gives you 2 attack, if that even mattered. But hey, I'll take it. So without further ado, I'll probably be playing Wilds when it comes out, basically mooching off the people around me because, boy, things, yeah, 306 meat. I've done so many Raydao and Arkveld fights that I actually ran out of the additional ingredient, the mud shrimp here, and I was like, I wonder if I can get it. No information online if you can get more of those, but shrug. So yeah, but yeah, without further ado, I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have anything to say, you know what to do. I'll finally be doing research and watching other people feel pain with Arkveld, and I will see you when I see you. Here's my equipment, here's everything else, and I'll see you later. I wanted to do some naked runs, but boy, I need to get my perfect guards down. Thank you for watching, though. I'll see you later. Bye!